Good afternoon. Good afternoon. This is Dr. K coming to you live again with another episode, series, session, whatever you deemed it, for NASPA Region 3's HBCUs Educate webinar series. And today we're going to be talking about the first year experience. So as you are coming in, I'll give you a couple of minutes to get situated. Just a reminder that this is being recorded as well, so that you can go to the YouTube channel for NASPA Region 3 and you can view this again. Also want to let you know that we will have Q&A session towards the end of our conversation. So once again, we are in the second episode, the first year experience. And so we're going to give you all a couple of minutes just to come on in the room, and then we're going to get started. And also, as you're coming in, if you have questions, feel free to use the Q&A option to post your questions. You can also use the chat function for your questions as well. And we still have some people coming in the room. My dear guest, how are you? All right, people still coming in the room. All right, so I am going to go ahead and get started because I feel like we're gonna have a good conversation and a lot of nuggets to take with you. So I'm gonna ask my guest that she go ahead and unmute herself as we begin to have this conversation. How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm well. I can't complain. These sessions and recordings are always exciting for me because, one, it allows me to bring to the forefront nationally some colleagues of mine that work in the HBCU space, which is not normally done at this level. So I'm excited, and I'm excited about the conversation that you're going to have.
Oh, nerves.
So let's get right into it. Once again, this is HBCU Educate, the first year experience, hosted, sponsored by NASPA Region 3. And definitely want to give honor to all of our historically Black colleges and universities, honoring the foundation and legacy since 1837, where we know, if you should know by now, if you've been watching these, Cheyney University in Pennsylvania being the first to be founded in 1837. So definitely want to honor all of the HBCUs around the world. Now, let's get to who we are talking with today. And so I have the pleasure of having this conversation and introducing to some and presenting to others. Torya Cranford is a native of Hartsville, South Carolina. She attended Paine College and received a Bachelor of Science degree in biology. She also holds a master's degree in higher education with a concentration in college teaching and learning, and is currently pursuing a Doctor of Philosophy degree in urban higher education from Jackson State University. I'm always excited when I see Black scholars, especially Black women, pursuing doctoral degrees. She has over 10 years of experience in higher education in a variety of areas. She has served as an admissions recruiter, director of Alumni Relations, director of student activities, and assistant softball coach, with each developing her professionally and personally. She currently serves as the first and second year programs director at Fort Valley State University and oversees the new student orientation leaders. Her ability to lead and develop future leaders is reflective in the creation of her company, To Inspire One, an educational-based consulting company committed to exposing individuals to positivity, possibility, and purpose through several engaging programs. Torya is an Augusta New Leaders Council Fellow, a Higher Education Leadership Foundation Fellow, and presently serves on the board of directors for Creative Impressions, Georgia Shift, and Up Next Initiative. Wow, you boss lady. A young lady of many accolades, academically, athletically, within the community and church. She enjoys music, laughter, family, being a sense of hope for young people and traveling. She strongly believes she may not have gone where she intended to go, but she thinks she has ended up where she intended to be with her faith and trust in God. So definitely want to give kudos to you. Welcome.
Thanks for having me and choosing me to share on this platform with you. I'm excited.
Yes. So we're not going to make them wait any longer. So let's get into it. So the first question or topic that we want to talk about is, what exactly in your space and in your opinion is the first year experience?
So the first year experience, in my opinion, is catered to personal development of the student. And when I say personal, I mean them making the adaptation necessary for the college campus. Them being away from their parents, them having that knowledge base of what to expect going from here and there. So that experience is social, it's academic, and it's still professional, although it is the first year. And although in the literature it makes sure this is a high impact practice, it's basically active learning. So keeping those students engaged who want to return or want to go to class or want to be a part of that student organization, putting that boost behind them to be a part of, or shall I say, be involved on their campuses and want to make that adjustment. And
so,
go ahead.
Let me, so you said something which sparked something, involvement. Now, when we think about involvement, can you kind of describe what that really means and how we can move towards this whole idea of involvement doesn't just mean enrolling and being part of a million organizations as a first year student?
Correct. So if we were to kind of have engagement opportunities, but the involvement aspect is the student actually taking place and playing part, having a role. So involvement for where I am and what it looks like, the students are asking questions. They're trying to figure out how can I be a part, or just asking a question in general. They don't know where a certain individual maybe that they need to speak with about something personal or professional. So the involvement piece itself is giving the student the ability or the room to inquire, to be a part of, to just come and see. So we try to create those platforms so where they can just show up and then further inquire if they have an interest later to further push engagement.
So you kind of do like a needs assessment with the student.
So my approach, which is probably weird to some people, is I don't plan anything without speaking with students. And I mean different types of students, even if they're not first year, they went through a first year if they're junior. So having that comparison as it relates to their journey through the college atmosphere, I speak to the first timer, I speak to the transfer, I speak with the upper level student and just ask, well, how was this for you? Or what would you like to see? Or what do you feel like you missed?
Right.
So that's I don't plan anything without a conversation. And even when I am planning, I always aim to involve a student because at the end of the day, it is about them, not just me trying to generate a calendar to say, oh, we got this going on. The things that are taking place, if they're, reoccurring every semester, every year, those are the things that students thoroughly enjoy. We just add to it.
Yeah. And so you also hit on something else in terms of, you said you talked to the transfer student. And so when we think about transfer students and we think about true, I guess, and I'm not sure if this is the right terminology, true first year experience, it can be a transfer student experience and a student that, traditionally came from high school and this is their first time in a college atmosphere. So can you talk about the difference between a first year experience for a transfer student at a university versus a student who's coming in right out of high school or never attended college before?
Correct. So I've been at Fort Valley going on 4 years now, and we had to begin splitting our transfer from our first time student when it came to the actual orientation piece. So for the transfer student, although they are transferring, they're coming from another institution, they still may have been a commuter type student from whatever institution they're coming from. So they still have the ability to attend those generalized first year programs, but we also have a separate transfer portion because many students, believe it or not, think just because they took, 20 credits from where they're coming from, all 20 credits are going to transfer. That's a conversation piece that they miss in the process. And that's what I see most transfer students run into.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I took this many hours of courses at this institution. Now I'm here. Now they saying I'm a freshman or got to start over. So that's generally the number one conversation we have with our transfer students. But even in that sense, they are also treated as a first-time student because you are this is your first time on this campus, right. Especially if they're living on campus. So we require them to move in the same path as the first year student, but they do have a transfer breakout session so that they understand, although they should have gotten it, most have received it before they even got here, but they didn't understand it, I guess, or comprehend what was taking place. So just having to break that down to the transfer students, that's normally the battle with them. Mm-hmm. But also having to understand that each student that comes in, although there are engagement models, the engagement models don't work for every student the same way.
Since you opened it up, let's talk about it then.
I mean, and then looking at the HBCU space and looking at the demographic we serve, yes, it is a common ground, to be honest, but every student is engaged totally differently. Right. Totally differently. So my transfer student may have already had the experience of having to go to the financial aid office and have that conversation about what they need or what they're missing at the registrar's office. My first time student is just as lost, like, I need to call my mama.
Right.
So those are two different approaches, and we have to set the path or open the path for whichever route they have to take. But as it relates to engaging them, it is harder to push a transfer student to be engaged for the sake that, I done did this, that mentality.
Right.
So, I mean, it's a lot of work, but I don't want professionals or higher ed professionals to get stuck in living off models when there's no one particular model that works for every student the same. You can probably pull some here and there, but knowing your demographic, your student body that you're serving, and acknowledging the need or assessing the need of your campus truly makes a difference if you do take that route and not just go with the same programming every year, because I have to change mine.
Right. So how does that look for you? So we're still talking about, what exactly is first year experience, but how do we ensure that the experience is successful for the students? So you mentioned one of my favorite words, assessment. So in your space, being at an HBCU, and so first, can you kind of talk about the HBCU space that you're in at Fort Valley, meaning, you're in Georgia, and what's going on in Georgia looks different than what's going on at A&T at North Carolina, right? And what is like your framework from beginning to end to decide what that first year experience looks like for students, whether they're a transfer student or not?
So as I've mentioned before, that first year experience is really personal experience. And that personal it goes from them, learning to use the technology, knowing how to access the technology online, especially in this new space with, online learning and teaching. How to utilize the online library. Many students don't know it. Don't even know where to find it on the website. So having to make the adjustment to the need of each student is probably the biggest challenge, but it's rewarding once they grasp it and they have an aha moment. So the framework for my FYE aligns with our Intro to the University course. So, which is, I also oversee all of that. I have to create the syllabus, and we have a book that actually goes with it, given the campus history, trying to get them to love where they are.
Right.
My greatest thing that I push with my students in the classroom is first, you got to know who you are. Yes. How will you know who you are if you don't have the experiences? And I would share with them, I wouldn't have known that. I always said I would not be an admissions recruiter. You saw in that.
Yeah.
You saw in my my bio, I've been an admissions recruiter. I would have not known that I did have a passion in that space and speaking to those high school students until I accepted an unknown that I said I would never do. But I took a leap. I was like, there's no way, believe it or not, there's no way you have to drag and push students that want to go to college.
Right.
But it's happening. And so being an admissions recruiter, I realized just where some of the gaps may be when it comes to my life without.
Hey, it happens.
when it comes to engaging the first year student, so I'm looking at them, getting them to know who they are, getting them to think about where they want to be. This is all first year. Not so much they got to grasp it, but these are things I need y'all to consider. Because if you don't know who you are, then you'll be wavering with any and everything. If you don't understand your degree map and where you're trying to go, then your advisor could put you with anything. That's like, you need to be just as accountable and responsible as the person you're speaking with. Because at the end of the day, you're working towards a degree. We're just trying to lay it out for you. But it's okay if you have the resources to like fact check or, you know, make sure everything is right. So we look at the personal, as I've stated, we look at the academic aspect, as I just shared about the degree, letting them know about the resources from tutoring, reading and writing lab that I wish more were utilized, because you can see in simple assignments how they're struggling. So getting them to actually participate or, you know, go utilize those resources is sometimes a battle. And then professionally, I always make my students, don't send me an email if you haven't created an email signature. That's your first step.
Wow.
You have to put your first, last name, your ID number, and your major. Like that's your first thing. And then I have them to send me emails, since we're having less office traffic, and I correct the way that they even present themselves in the email. You're not texting me. So I needed to teach them how to formalize an email. Just those small things make them feel like they're making big accomplishments and they're getting somewhere. So I'm not faculty per se, but I do teach for the intro courses. And I tell them that it helps to move and make your experience a whole lot easier and less stressful if we can see your information. Communication, we stress that. You come in from the financial aid office and you're like, the lady over there said I need to do something. Y'all have to reiterate what it is that you need. So these are key points that I'm telling them that will help them grow them as they move forward.
Right.
Just foundational things. Yeah. So the experience is to grow them wholeheartedly, personally, academically, professionally, and hopefully they'll look to being involved. But I do always encourage y'all need to at least join 2 orgs, one social and one academic. They have the greatest balance. So I'm asking, so what have you looked into this week?
So do you encourage them to do those organizations within their first year or somewhere along them being in college?
I encourage them to explore, and if they do find one, then by that second semester of their freshman year, they should have solidified and be ready to work next term, sophomore year.
Right.
So we do encourage, and then I'm over student leaders, so I utilize the leaders as well to help kind of maneuver those things.
Okay. So to me, and I know I have a point of privilege of working at HBCU, so I know the more work we do than on the job description, right? So thinking about success for the students and everything that you've mentioned that you do for the first year student and how you bring that experience, what collaborations of other departments do you work with, and which ones don't you work with, but you wish that they would be part of your collaboration team?
So collaboration, we're always collaborating with career services. And we have this area called campus student engagement, which really focuses on their community service aspect.
Okay.
So we've implemented where our students, our freshmen, our first year students should have at least 20 service hours by the end of their first year.
Okay. Wow.
That aligns with the FESU course, because again, I said those things align to where we can take class periods to actually complete some service projects.
Right.
Because that's part of the exposure or experience that they can receive, because many come with no jobs. They don't have resumes, believe it or not, or resumes with experience. And I have to add and tell them, partnering with career services, your service learning projects that you're doing, that can go on your resume.
Right.
Those things build you as it develops your character. You get to learn more about yourself. And I stress that enough. You won't really know about yourself until you have experiences and realize, okay, I'm not a fan of that. Okay, this is who I am. So career services, of course, student affairs, student engagement, which is your volunteerism and all of that. I've attempted, and it's been a slightly successful, to actually have a partnership with academic affairs. But, you know, it's kind of hard to pull faculty.
Right.
Once they finish teaching their class. So me having that thoughts of getting them involved, I had to make the adjustment just so they can be, not that I had to, but I wanted to make the adjustment just for their participation to maybe move programming up to 3:00 for that particular event.
Oh, okay.
Not so much when they get out of dinner and they feel more relaxed, type. So moving the program up to a time that they're still on campus and don't mind being engaged, because that major exploration, students do tend to change their major. We talk about that as well in the first year experience. They do change their major. So the more they get to know about each department, not just what they're interested in, but the more they get to know about each department, the more solidified they can become in their major, knowing that I need to change.
Right.
Academic affairs, career, volunteerism, student affairs, of course, and then the tutoring service.
Okay.
And sometimes we assist trio. We kind of partner. People I would like to partner with, I've done a few things with financial aid.
Okay, yeah.
But believe it or not, I partner with those that I know are going to be impactful.
Right. Gotcha. Makes sense.
With the proper resources, because other than that, it's almost like a waste.
Mm-hmm. So moving into the dynamics of the first year experience at an HBCU, and I want to tap into the fact that you attended an HBCU.
Mm-hmm.
So thinking about your first year experience as well, but what makes the first year experience at the HBCU different in general? And then let's move into what it looks like now in this virtual space.
So the first year experience for a student attending HBCU in general, I think it's that self-actualization. It's like I'm here, I'm at a place, no matter what their decision or reasons were for choosing it, I'm at a place with people that look like me, that can vibe with me, that will probably push and motivate me. Mm-hmm. So that experience, they're looking to those things that we highlight the most.
Right.
If we're honest. They're looking at the things that we highlight the most, from your student orgs, your Greek orgs, to your king and queen, to your band and your athletics. Those things pull them in first before you even get to the academic and the meat and the things that keep, the vibe and the culture going. Right. So overall, that first year experience is awakening. It's like, okay, I'm here. You always see the meme, like your first year, your senior year, what you look like.
Right.
Your glow begins to become more brighter the more you learn about yourself and go through the processes and realize that you're really not on this journey alone. So right. I think it's pretty much the same across all campuses. The thought of it is the same across all campuses. Now, my first year experience, it's kind of a blur because I was a student athlete, so I didn't really get to explore the way I probably should have. And tutoring was mandatory regardless, so it looks different for everybody.
Right. So then that's a great question. I mean, a great topic to move to: student athletes. Mm-hmm. How can I put this? How do we get those student athletes involved on campus beyond just the sports that they play?
That's hard. It's hard. But believe it or not, instead of it being my role as the employed person here, I am good for using those students that I know are active, whether it be student leadership, new student orientation leaders. I utilize them greater than the orientation week. They help implement those FYE programs. They help recruit new student orientation leaders. They're friends with those individuals that are playing in these sports and they're hanging out with. So you encourage your crew to come and be involved, to come and be a part. Just come one time and then see how you like it. So our athletics, of course, they always help out with move-in, but you don't really see them again until a game.
Right.
Homecoming. So you know who they are by the packs that they travel in or the gear they may have on. But that engagement outside of the classroom and beyond the field or the court, I would say that that's some research that needs to be done to see how can it be enhanced? Because I don't believe they're not, most of them are engaged. Students come to college with the mindset. Some mindset develop. And when the mindset develops, they realize, okay, this is what I really need to do. And I always tell them, y'all got to maximize every opportunity. Mm-hmm. Yes, you're in college, but we're still business. You never know who's on campus. This person could be here to give away a scholarship, but you're not even just here. You're not showing up. Sometimes you just got to show up to be blessed.
Right.
So I try to encourage them that way. But the athletic portion, I think it's difficult. But at the same root, I do believe those coaches have just as much as an impact that they could make as well, like encouraging them. My professors that teach that FESU course, I can tell who's strongly active in their actual classes and who are not by the participation of students that show up.
Right.
So I know whose class they're in. I see who logs on when it's time or who shows up. That lets me know who's not actively engaged. So that if that interactivity is missing in the classroom, then the student don't feel the need to be further engaged to enhance what they need.
Now, with HBCUs, majority of our student population, with the outlier of, I believe, West Virginia State has their largest population in terms of race would be white students, right?
Right.
The other 100 and some odd HBCUs, the larger population are African Americans, Black students. So when you think about, but we're becoming more and more diverse.
Right.
And so, because I have a point of privilege in knowing what you're working on, can you talk about the dynamics of engaging students in their first year at HBCUs that are non-Black?
So the thing about it is we do not separate. We don't even look at the individuals here by actual, I guess, what ethnicity they fall in.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that could be something better, particularly on this campus. I'm only speaking out for working at Fort Valley. I don't see where it's actually anything truly happening because, again, the complacency of most of our students here, they're here for ag or vet. They go to their classes and they leave, or they know that once they graduate, they're going to run their family farm. So let me just go take these few courses because this is what's next for me. Or I got a scholarship to play football, so I'm just going football, boom, boom class. The calls that come, I just need so-and-so so I can play football. Now you need so-and-so so you can graduate. Of it is just mind-blowing that, serving those different demographics, we don't truly separate or give the attention separately. Mm-hmm. We just classify based off your credit hours, based off you came in as a first-time freshman or transfer or sophomore, second year. So those are things that do have to be built up, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
They don't really have, we don't have that large of a Caucasian population based off, my research. And then, of course, being here. So we don't have to make that much of a adjustment.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I think we just pay attention to the greater need, but everyone is invited because we don't really get into that discussion of culture, color, race, religion type. And plus we're public, so they try not to be too particular.
That plays a role. Being a public.
That support, financial, external, all that.
So how has your space shifted in the midst of COVID? Because when you think about attending an HBCU, you see, what's on TV, you're excited, any institution, but more so for HBCUs, you're excited, like you stated before, our Black students see people that look like them, especially in faculty and staff spaces, which is a big component of, HBCUs and why some attend. And then COVID hits.
Right.
And you don't get to experience homecoming, at least not in the nature that you were visiting your big sister or cousin, right? How has that shifted not only just the mindset of your first year students, but the mindset of how you do work now?
So the mindset of my first year students, of course they hate it, because that was the highlight. That was the highlighted experience. No homecoming, no this, no that. So we do have football homecoming, but they also turn around and have like a slight basketball homecoming. And although it may have been virtual, the participation would be minimized because it's virtual. People want to be in person. So we still encourage them to be involved, but at the same time, making note that the planning not to overly do it because it is virtual and we know where our students are and what they're thinking. Paying attention to them, you know, going home. If they were going home while we were active, you know, they're going home if we're virtual. So looking into those things that shifted the mindset, it's been hard, but they've made the adjustment. I think the greatest aspect that the campus was really concerned about was making sure that all of our faculty and staff were aware of how to use the technology, because we still want to have access. That moved to priority, and that was a whole conversation since a year ago, this time last year. And then being able to make sure our students had access to the professors.
Right.
So we had to make the adjustments where training those, you know, more seasoned faculty of how to use the actual technology. So it wasn't like we brought someone in. If someone on campus knew how to utilize, what is it called? The D2L online, then they will partner with someone else to show them how to get through it, how to find your class, how to interact with your students. I think the greatest challenge is the classroom interaction now from this perspective. Because our approach right now for first year students, if they were not well disciplined and reading on their own and preferred to be in the classroom, and at one point you could not. But right now we have it where it's synchronous. They could be in the classroom. They prefer to learn, you know, face to face, if that's their best way of learning. And they can also join in. If class starts at 10 o'clock, they log in at 10 o'clock and they see the interactive in-class teaching from their dorm room, still on campus or in the library, wherever they set up. So making sure they had the access was the greatest component. The actual engagement piece. Last year, I began to just have general Zooms or lives just to check in on students, because it hit so hard. They were on spring break. Their spring break ended up being 6 months.
Yeah. The longest break ever.
The longest break. And they came back like, man, we knew we were ready to go to spring break. I'm not saying that again.
Right.
You know, because they were gone for so long. So just checking in and let them know that we're still here. We're trying, many of them's like, I just need to drop this, because I'm telling them, don't drop your class, because everybody's making an adjustment. You're going to be okay.
Right.
So that was another aspect for our first year students. Like, well, I don't think I'm going to do well because it's online, because they know what their learning styles are or where they struggle. I said, don't drop, because at this point, the system, we can't fail anybody.
Okay.
The system, you know, it's not going to be a pass fail, but we are going to work with you to make sure you get what you need done. So that was the hardest adjustment for those first year students. I'm coming to college. This is my first time. Oh, now I got to take it on the computer?
Right.
No, this is not what I want to do. So that adjustment was interesting, but I think they've gotten it better now. They're doing better. The students as a whole are doing better, and the faculty as well.
Now, something special about your position is that you also have second year experience. So can you talk about what that looks like for you in terms of how are the programs different for first year and second year? And do you have a program that you use?
So first year, we, of course, as I mentioned, it's personal experience. And I like to say that second year is professional exposure.
Okay.
So that career development and planning goes a little further. We're trying to partner them with Wildcat mentors, which are alums. Having that collaboration with alums in the area. From one of the programs that I have, it's called Wildcat Wisdom Wednesdays, where an alum comes in, speak about their Fort Valley experience, the good, the bad, how Fort Valley has helped them to get to where they are, what they're doing, and then at the end, how they can help the students that are currently here. If they're going to take internships or have students to shadow them, or if they're even going to offer scholarship. So letting them see people like them that have come from where they are has been a great enhancement. And then you also get the faculty to come over like, oh yeah, I taught them. So it's a nice little, you know, transformative experience, but second year it does focus more on the professional aspect. Right now you need to be just narrowing it down. What are you sure this is the career path you're choosing? Do you know what's required for this graduate program? I have to tell them that all the time. Like it's down to the grit. You want to go for, you know, a degree, got it. But what are the requirements? Just because your degree here at Fort Valley requires 2 psychologies, that next level may require 3. how are you going to fit that in your cycle? So having those types of conversations, having them to plan ahead, because once they leave what we call our first and second year area, university college, are for freshmen and sophomores. Once they reach 59 credit hours, they're considered a junior, or 60, they're considered a junior. Once they go to the junior side, engagement shifts, like down spiral type shift, because they don't have a junior year experience or senior year experience. So they end up coming back over here like, can you help me with this? So not only are you getting your new group of students or scholars, you still have those that have already moved on coming back because they need the assistance and it's not available there. But we are in the process of mapping something out to where they can have such experience on that side, because it's things that are lost. So hopefully the second year will expand. It might not be called junior, senior, but the engagement aspect of keeping them locked in, you know, that persistence to graduation. Right. We see those numbers where they fluctuate, whether it's 4-year graduation, 6-year graduation. It's that gap right there after that sophomore year. It's like the hand was dropping, I can't do this anymore.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. So I know you said that you have in the first year experience, they have a course. Is there a course associated with the second year experience too? We
tried, but they denied it the first time.
Well, and there's that, right?
we did try, and I shared it with my dean this morning that we have to figure a way to keep that engagement going, because they are high first year experience. You know, that engagement, those numbers are high. Second year, the only ones that are really engaging second year are the ones that are serious about the walk or the journey, you know. And it's not considered a required. So with the SYE program and aligning with the actual course, it's like points, it's required. So that's why we were trying to get the course to like make it all line up, you know, but I didn't see a need for it at that point. So we'll probably revisit it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you highlight about 2 or 3 major programs that come out of your office that are related to the engagement of students, especially first year experience?
Okay, the Wildcat Wisdom Wednesday is probably my number one.
Okay.
For the sake that the alumni are involved and they're excited to be involved. I'm not pressuring anybody or just pulling from my hat. I do an ask, try to have a representation from every major to come in. You know, they used to come to the campus, which you know where we are now, Zoom.
Right.
We're going to meet, and allow them to have that. And I tell them it's very informal. Very informal to have that dialogue with students. If you want to have a presentation, fine, but they will have questions. Tell them about your job. Tell them about your time here at Fort Valley. Yeah, you had to stand in the financial aid line too, but look at me now.
Right.
You know, we all have that experience. So the Wildcat Wisdom Wednesday is one I thoroughly enjoy from all aspects, from the student aspect to the alumni returning, and then being able to, you know, give them opportunities themselves from where they stand.
Right.
Secondly, the degree exploration. That one is always interesting. And for that, deans are there, but I allow the upperclassmen students in those particular majors to address the students, to talk about, to actually address the experience. Having students share, okay, I changed my major because I was really interested in this. Right. So from animal science to vet tech, what is that difference? Oh, well, I need to go to animal science. You know, students start to have that aha moment. So letting them see actual current students that are on the path that they want to go, I always use a degree exploration program for that. And one that's not so much scholarly that the students thoroughly love is probably their number one. But I will put it as my third one. Will be I always do a crucial conversations with AC. Crucial conversations, there is no filter. So let's just be honest. There is no filter. We talk about things that they probably don't want to talk about with their parents, or things they don't want to discuss with the faculty or their roommate, campus social issues, anything of that nature, just to paint the picture. And I'm not the one to tell you what you need to do, but I'm going to paint the picture and show you what it looks like. So and not just a right path. Did you ever consider? So just to get into critical thinking. So the crucial conversation is always engaging. The room is always full because it's like their unwind moment. So those are my top three. Although we do several others, those are my top three. We like to plan programming associated with music. You know, it pulls them in. We had a whole Cardi B session one year, and they were just interested because it was a Cardi B, and we were using, you know, the titles of her song to, you know, put out content.
Right.
Get up 10 ways to, you know, increase your engagement here on campus, 10 ways to make yourself better daily, choosing 10 ways, you know. So we just used it just to pull them in, but they enjoyed it. So having to be creative, being aware of what's happening in the now, what they're into. I created a TikTok just because my students are on TikTok during COVID.
Wow. See, so you truly go above and beyond.
I have to go where they are to let them know we're here.
That is true. That is true. One thing we didn't talk about, if you can briefly, what does the structure of your office look like? Is it just you? Do you have people reporting to you? And then also, what is the average student population at Fort Valley?
So my office, I am first year, second year. So that is the structure.
Oh, so it's just you. Just you. Wow.
So I do both. And even right now, because we're transitioning in another area, I'm even helping out with some advisement pieces. I did used to advise. So, but I am the office of first and second year experience. My help are my student leaders.
Okay.
I utilize them. I do utilize them.
So good exposure for them.
Right. So I don't carry it if I don't have to, because the student leaders are pretty clever, they're creative, and some of them are actually working under me, like, you know, school funds work study.
Right.
I'll allow them to, you know, pick their brain. So I'm not alone, but technically in the books, it's me. It is just me. So yeah, that's how that operates. And they give me free range. It's been a major change since I've gotten here.
Now, we talked about this transition to the second year. You kind of discussed it goes from, for you, building the personal with the student in the first year and then moving to the professional. If I was to come to Fort Valley and ask our first year and second year students, what's it like to work with you? What's it like? What does that engagement look like? What would be some things that students that transition from first year to second year may say?
What do they say about me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I have my students come to my class sometimes. And then you can hear the new student saying, well, they told me to put you down as my professor. And I'm like, well, why? Trying to figure out why. But the thing is, I'm relatable.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I appear to be relatable, yet at the same time, it's a don't play type.
Right.
So, you know, I got your hand, but understand it's only for so long that I'm going to give you a hand up and put you where you need to be. Like, help you get where you need to be. So for those second year, they will say that, well, Ms. Cranford, she'll listen. I get a lot of students. Yeah, they told me to come see you. I don't even work in financial aid.
Right.
But I guess the fact that I'm going to listen and try to help them figure it out, at least it gives them a comfort. And, you know, our scholars are quick to go to social media.
They are.
They're quick to go to social media for their event. Like this wall right here. I said, whatever the issues are, write it on that wall, not on social media. So my wall is full. I say it can be good, bad. I don't care, but don't put it on social media right here. So write it on the wall. So they put their little expressions up there, whatever they want to say. I just my office door is always open unless I'm in a meeting. But I do make myself available. And it's people are like, well, how do you do that? The only obligation is me. I don't have kids. I don't have a husband, you know, but I do have my parameters.
Right.
You can't be reaching out to me and expect a quick response. 6 o'clock, be honest.
Honoring your boundaries.
Right. So they'll be quick to say, hey, I need to speak with you tomorrow. Even if it's like 10 o'clock at night, I get an email. Although I shouldn't be checking my email, but it's a habit. I get an email, hey, I need to speak with you tomorrow about something important. I'll look at my calendar in that moment, because if it's important, then it's really got to be important. But I won't respond until 8 o'clock the next day.
Gotcha.
But this is when you can come.
So this leads us to giving you the space to talk about your company, To Inspire One, which I believe really aligns to what you do professionally at Fort Valley. So if you can talk briefly about the work that you do in that space.
So real briefly, To Inspire One does focus on students transitioning priority. So students going from high school or just coming from home and trying to get into college, having that consultation with them or choosing the right college, the right major, finding funding. And it's not so much just for the student, there are educational components for the parents, because there are many things that they don't understand or counselors may not share with them at the high school level. Mm-hmm. So To Inspire One is that gap. It does help with the transition aspect, educationally and, preparing the student all together. But we do also do leadership development for the student or faculty. We've done plenty of those. And of course, speaking and empowerment components are also a part of To Inspire One. And I just recently closed a scholarship two scholarships I'm going to offer to students that commit or enroll in the HBCU in the fall. They must be attending the HBCU to receive those scholarships. So I had about 100 or so applicants.
Wow.
But yeah, we just serve right. So I'll be looking through those one by one.
Wow, 100. That 100 sounds great, but then when you have to go back and say, "Well, I have to look through every one of them," that's a lot. But I think it's important as HBCU professionals that what we do on our campuses, and we do it also off our campuses, because when we think about, it's not just the HBCU I work at, it's all of the HBCUs, and how can I be impactful to all of them, not just the one that I work at. And so I thank you for the work that you're doing with To Inspire One.
Thank you, we're trying.
So now we are open for Q&A. Are there any questions from our guests, our attendees? Please put those in the Q&A section and I will read them out. And so while we're waiting for some questions to pop in, could you give about 2 or 3 tips to HBCU professionals regarding engaging with first year and or second year students? What are some things that maybe you wish you knew before, or what you want new professionals or existing HBCU professionals to know about engaging with first year and second year students?
One thing for sure to know is realizing or knowing the student that you are assisting or engaging. That is probably priority. They all come in with different things, carrying different things. Some of them could be running from situations. I've seen that as well. It's not just, it's the first time student, they don't care, they don't want to do this, they don't want to do that. Some really have like serious issues. And that was something I really had to take in, because once you do have that final conversation or a conversation with them in general, they really do have a lot happening. So just being aware, having some empathy. Yes, we want to be strict. We want to, hit their hand because they didn't do that, but having some empathy, because you never know what that struggle is. And having being a student myself, like feeling lost, like, and not talking to anybody about it. When I was in college, I promise you, what was that, 2006, the year 2006, 7, 8, I had at least 10 deaths in my family.
Wow.
Spoke with no one about it. Only people that knew were my teammates, because I get the call on the way to the game or after the game, but still had no conversation about it. So that alone put me in a different mind frame when it comes to addressing the student, because I never said a word to anybody.
Wow.
Ever. And so people will hear and they're like, they just need to give you your degree, because it was really that many people. And so having some empathy, utilizing your students to guide your actual programming, to guide your framework, listen to them. Because your students, they have friends, they have crews that they run with that are going to come because they're coming.
Right.
So utilizing the students, that's so important, getting their feedback and like respecting it. Not saying you got to use it, but just respect what was suggested. How can you bring it to light? And I guess the last thing would just be the adaptability. Like, you have to be adaptable.
Right.
Like, if something has happened on my campus recently, tweet, I'm having to address that component. I don't have to, but I'm going to address the component to the students as a whole, you know. So I had to quickly hit that note just so they could see, you know, where the field was, let them see a bigger picture, let them see the small picture, and then let's think through it. Like, tell me what were your thoughts? You know, having that dialogue, just shifting a little bit to let them know that we're still connected. Not to give them any answers or saying, you know, do this, do that, but just to let them know we're paying attention and we're connected. Sometimes just those small things like that keeps them engaged. I know I can always count on. I know probably every student I can always count on that's going to show up.
Gotcha. Yeah. We know the ones that'll do for us, right?
Right.
So I have a twofold question. How do you get alums involved with Wildcat Wednesday? Do you work with the alumni office?
Not at all. When I started it was a transition. So I legit use Facebook. And then on the campus itself, believe it or not, in most cases, you have alums that are working on the campus. Mm-hmm. I have them to share the same information. Then they shoot me the emails. If you're a Fort Valley grad, shoot me your name, you know, position, email, you know, to this email. So I will go through the list. I will send the general email, and from there we'll work to see who actually responds, because some people just type the little information, they go forth. We'll see who responds, and I immediately respond to let them know, well, these are the dates. Let me know what works for you. The date's coming up about 3 weeks. Can you please share your bio and your pic, just to let them know that we're moving? And then I remind them of the dates. But getting them involved, some of them really like the platform. Mm-hmm. You know, we like to see our name in the lights, so they say. When it comes to giving, they want to see their name on the paper, so that's why they give. Right. You want to see the name listed. So the institution highlighting the alumni or asking the alumni to be a part, it's like a plus for them. I get to go home. Mm-hmm. I get to go home and talk about my accomplishments. Right. So, you know, and then the interaction from the students, I think they really enjoy, and they just want to see for themselves. So, I mean, it's not always easy, but I'll, again, only entertain those that are actually interactive.
So it's more of
alumni, yeah.
A word of mouth, or people that you know, mm-hmm. rather than a collaboration with alumni.
Yeah, no collaboration. I think they just got somebody new in that area. So, and I'm sure she can assist. Okay. But yeah, this is like the third semester.
Oh, okay.
So we're straight out the gate.
Are there any other questions? Any other questions? Give you about a minute or two to put those in the chat. We had someone comment, I love.
Love.
I believe that resonates with you as a student currently at Jackson State. Yep.
Absolutely.
Well, I don't see any other questions coming in, and we're almost at time.
Okay.
Definitely want to truly thank you for having this conversation and shedding light on your experience at HBCU, working most particularly around the first year and second year experience. I think that I know that you've given some nuggets that some institutions may take back, especially what you're doing as it relates to the Wildcat Wednesday, even without the assistance of alumni affairs. And just imagine, you know, what that may look like if, you know, they begin to assist with that. And so, and I love how you talk about in the first year, your focus is the personal, the self-awareness is what I heard. And we went to the second year is professional. And now that I know a little bit more about myself, that means to be professional.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate you in that space. Continue to do the good work that you're doing. Those that are watching, make sure that you reach out to Inspire One. I definitely want to give that plug for you. Want to thank you again. And also
having. I do appreciate it.
Yes.
I hope it was beneficial. Got a few nuggets here and there.
I'm so thankful for my network, right? And when this topic came up, you were the first person that came to mind. So I'm thankful that you answered the call. And so to those watching, next webinar will be scheduled for March the 31st. And we're going to be talking about Title IX and engagement with Brianna Hayes and Tia Brown. And so make sure you register for that webinar as well. But once again, thank you so much. I appreciate your wisdom.
Thank you.
And is there any way that you want to leave any contact information for anyone that may want to reach out to you regarding some of the things that you said?
Yeah, so anyone that wants to have a dialogue or just pick my brain about something you may have or maybe planning, you can email me at Cranford A, CRANFORD A at FVSU.edu. And I will be sure to respond. And please note that it was from NASPA.
Yes.
As many emails come through.
Definitely. But once again, thank you. And we hope that you enjoyed this session of HBCU.
Absolutely. Thank you.